all the way to the top, almost.
Yeah. Alright, so Rachel is filling up the blowers right now, and we're going to start about right here. All of that has to be cleaned out, and we're going to come in and all this has to be cleaned out. We don't have to mess with the backyard. The chain link pretty much stopped all the leaves from going into the backyard, so that's not a concern. We're going to get on the other side of the garage on her little strip that the client owns. Oh, recently somebody asked me, they said, why do you guys always refer to your clients as she? And they were talking about like all the lawn care people in general, or just contractors in general. So Aaron Anthus with Shaw Homes in Tulsa, it's a $180 million business per year. They refer to it as the power of the purse, meaning his clientele's mostly women, and they're the ones that make the buying decision. So Rachel, can I ask you a quick question? When we need something done around the house, who calls to have it done? Is there a reason why? Because I won't mess with it, or I'm like, hey, yeah, I'll get to it, and then you know what happens?
Or you'll end up doing it yourself. That's the other thing.
Yeah, so I'll either do it myself, or I'll get annoyed with it and I'll be like, all right, just hire somebody, Rachel. And then I leave that decision up to her. I don't want to mess with it. I don't care. Rachel's got it. I trust her, and she's got it. And I think it's that way in a lot of marriages. Or if it's not that way in the marriage, the woman says, you know what, we're just getting it done.
They also don't want to be naggers.
They don't want what?
They don't want to be naggers.
Huh? Oh.
No, I mean...
Nagging. God. What we're dealing with is we've got some pine needles from the tree across the street up here. There's some gumball leaves, sweet gum leaves, some pine needles, and then we've got this silver maple, so there's some maple leaves there. Now they're kind of damp, so you know they'll shred up, but not like they generally would. But we're gonna go ahead and get them cleaned up, and I hope you enjoy the process.
Gas tank.
What are you talking about?
That thing the nozzle.
Yeah, what about them?
But it's expensive.
No, it comes with the gas can. What are you talking about?
I don't know.
Rachel said, I bet that little gas tank probably costs 50 or 60 bucks.
No, like...
No, but it does when it's stolen.
Yeah.
Because of loss of time. Normally the fuel that's inside of it. Having to run to the store. My gas cans get stolen every year. It's just part of the business. I used to lock them up and stuff.
Yeah, you gotta get ready to set your timer on the phone.
What is that? It's nothing. That's what it is. All right. So I was going through my comments today. Shut up. Let me read it. So one of my super fans said, my leaf vac would push this big thing to shame. And then he goes on and he says, it's pretty sad my small vac works better than this big thing for acorns. And I gotta say, I agree. Kevin sucks at sucking.
Sucking nuts.
In this video, Rachel and I perform a leaf cleanup. We talk about our systems and how we bill and invoice and get our money, because a lot of clients, if you don't set it up to where you get your money, well, you just won't get paid. And then I talk about my wife's big booty, and I talk about marriage tips, because you have to. When you talk about a big booty, you have to follow that up with a big compliment. And then we talk about an experience where I got choked. But first, I'm going to talk to you. Not my wife choking me. She's thought about it plenty of times.
No.
But before I start that, I'm going to tell you a story about a time capsule that I found when I was a kid. Alright, I want to start off by telling you this story is 100% real. All right. So when I was in 5th grade, I found a time capsule, and here's kind of how it all played out. There was my house, and then there was this house next door at the end of this block, right? And the house next door used to be a place of employment for ladies of the night. It was a cat house or a house of prostitution, but that was all like Prohibition era, turn of the century type stuff. And since then, it had been vacant, lived in, and it was just a rundown house. So there was this guy that lived next door that, you know, for a while he was there, maybe a year or two, and he's working on the electricity one day, and ambulance gets called. He got electrocuted, and he goes to the emergency room. Comes back about a few days later, he's doing it again. After that, the house was vacant again, and I didn't see him again, but the garage was condemned. So, you know, city comes in, bulldozes it, hauls the stuff away, and it's like just flat, barren ground, no dirt, no nothing in the backyard for like, I don't know, a year or two, because, you know, there's a bunch of trees and leaves falling, and nobody did maintenance. So, you know, it'd get tall grass, it'd all die, and then like the area where it was all plowed, it was just bare dirt. So we're over there and we're playing as kids, and we're seeing what we can find, and just, you know, playing with footballs, that kind of stuff. But while we're playing over there, we find a couple shotgun shells, and there's like a little 22 shell, and that stuff's cool. So we're keeping all that stuff and putting it in our tree house. And one day we're playing over there, and I see this piece of metal sticking up by the tree. And it's probably, I don't know, 2 inches or so. It's sticking out of the ground, and I'm like, what is that thing? I start digging it up. I'm like, oh man, this is cool. This is cool. And I start digging it up, and I keep digging.
I have to ask, are you using your hands at this point?
Yeah, I'm using my hands. Probably, maybe a stick or something. You know, I don't know. I'm a kid. I'm not smart enough to grab any tools. Just, you know, sticks. It's like Neanderthal type of digging. Anyway, so I end up with this piece of metal. It looks about the size of a 2-liter, maybe a foot and a half tall, and about as round as a 2-liter. It's kind of heavy because it's metal. And I'm like, Jared, check this out. And my buddy's like, oh yeah, that's cool, whatever. I'm like, it's a big bullet, dude. Look at it. It looks like a torpedo. And he's like, no, man, look, there's numbers on it. It's a time capsule. And immediately he grabs it, poof, throws it like 15 foot in the air, right? And it lands on the brick street. And at that point, I go, okay, if Jared's confident it's a time capsule, then I think it's a time capsule. And we're all in. So we're grabbing it, and we're, you know, throwing it down like a football on the ground. We're throwing it up. We probably throw it up in there about 15, 20 times. Whatever. We can't get it to open. So then we start using our brain. We're like, okay, it's got numbers on the top. Let's try turning the top. But the top is rusted and it won't move, right? So we're like, whatever. We finally give up and we put it in the treehouse. It's pretty cool. And at some point in time, Jared's like, I'm going to take this thing home and I'm going to get it open. So him and his sister, they're in his room and they're banging on it with a hammer and a screwdriver, trying to open it up, right? Probably pretty loud, I imagine. And his dad came in the room, wondering what was going on, and immediately knew what it was. And he took it to the VFW, because his dad was a veteran. And the VFW did an x-ray on it. Turns out it was a live mortar shell with 4 pounds of explosives in it. And yeah, so right after that, I'm sitting in class, and I get a call, right? Well, my teacher gets a call, looks at me, looks at the phone, looks at me, looks at the phone, says, Kevin, you got a call from a general? I don't know what a general is. I'm in the 5th grade. I'm pretty oblivious to all that stuff. And so I answer the phone, and, you know, I'm talking to the guy. I'm like, well, that sounds cool. He sounds important. I probably felt intimidated on the phone. I don't know. Whatever. My dad ends up coming and picks me up from school after he had already been to the house and seen what was going on. He seemed pretty worked up when he picked me up. But this is kind of what my dad told me he had seen when he showed up, right? He said he's coming home from work. You got to imagine he worked 3rd shift at the time. And so he's coming home, he's tired. And he pulls onto the block, and he said, I didn't know whether to keep driving or to come home. And the reason being is he saw Air Force, He saw the Marines. He saw a bomb squad.
Oh,
He saw
goodness.
all the police force and the sheriff's officers and all that stuff. You got to imagine they were just swarmed around our house. And they're running metal detectors next door. But the first thing he thought is, uh-oh, they might have found
Mary Jane.
my medicine. It's medicine, Rachel. They found his medicine. And not only that, but he was an at-home pharmacist supplying other people with medicine. So he thought for sure they were there for him. Anyways, so my dad, paranoid they found his medicine, decided to go ahead and bite the bullet and go home. And he ended up getting talked to by the generals and whoever else was there. And so they had a few concerns that they raised with my dad.
Oh my! Did it take everything for your parents to not like laugh the whole time? I mean,
I'm pretty sure my dad was pretty
not
paranoid
laugh.
at this point.
I mean, but like.
Okay, so here's the
okay.
thing. They raised a few concerns. And the concern was that they ran a metal detector next door and they found 2 more mortar shells. So that's one concern. But then they brought up the meth lab in our treehouse. Yes, and as young kids, we had what they assumed was a meth lab in our treehouse.
So innovative, Kevin.
Yeah, well, it turned out to be a Toys R Us chemistry set, and on the bottom of everything it says Toys R Us chemistry set. So no charges were ever pressed and no legal actions were ever pursued over our Toys R Us.
You need to put a picture
Chemistry
of that
set.
on there.
Now, they didn't mention all the porno magazines that were in the treehouse, which we were pretty lucky to find as kids, or at least I thought so.
Oh my goodness, golly.
But that's another story for another date, which is surprisingly a pretty interesting story for being as simple as porno magazines. But
I just want to hug your mom and dad so much.
yeah, I put them through a lot. So anyways, here's the thing about this story. As a kid in elementary school, you know, I'm talking to my buddy who was in middle school at the time, and we're like having these awesome ideas of what's going to happen from here. Because at this point, we're pretty excited. You know, we found a bomb. That's cool. And so we're like, oh, dude, we're going to be in the paper. You know, because we're in a small town. We're like, we're going to be in the newspaper. They kept it pretty hush-hush. Newspaper never found out. Or maybe they knew, but they weren't allowed to say anything. So it never showed up in the newspaper. Yeah, they wanted to keep it under wraps. Not very good publicity for your little town or little city to say, hey, we found three live mortar shells. And a fifth grader found them and was throwing them up in the middle of the street. Yeah, not good publicity. So it didn't hit there. But we were thinking, well, maybe we'll get a reward. Nah, we never got a reward either. So, you know, that's that. But it is what it is. Now, Jared and I did both get kind of marked as far as it goes with, you know, yeah. They kind of kept an eye on us from then on as far as the police officers go. And, you know, but there's some more stories for a later date at another time. But that is the story of how I found a time capsule with 4 pounds of live explosives. Damn, son! I tell you what, I have doubled my investment since being with my wife. Here's how you invest in the booty. You buy it when it's small, and you feed it, and you love it, and you nurture it, and you invest it, and over time it gets bigger, like the stock market. I tell you, them big juicy hams is making me hungry, and now I gotta go.
I can't stand this guy. I mean, he's just taking advantage of his wife. The only reason that he would want to have her on video is just to use her booty for more views. And I gotta say, I like looking at it too. So it might be working. I just don't think that's true. I think you're jealous. I think you're jealous, and you don't like it, and you're just like my little hater cat Smokey. And that's where we're gonna leave that. I'm gonna keep watching.
Now, obviously, my wife and I have a good relationship, and we're able to make jokes, and it's nothing more than that. But I figured I would get on it before some people in the comments are like, that's the only reason you'd have your wife work with you. But we have videos from a long time ago, my wife coming out to work with me, and she's been able to work with me more since my daughter's been in school. Now this year, she planned on working with me a lot more this year during the fall, but with the way the schooling system's been this year, it's very, inconsistent. And it's not to her fault, and not really to the school's fault either. They just have to play along with the whole BS that's just is what it is right now. So, that's my thoughts on that. I put education before fear. So I'm not using my wife's booty for views, but I do think it's a big plus. I enjoy watching it in the video. So, that's for me though. All right? I signed the paperwork on that a long time ago, and that's mine. So you stay back. It's mine. I'm not saying I own my wife. I don't think I'm going to be able to make it through this video without setting people off from this point. But, I'm not saying I own my wife, but I'm saying that when a husband and wife are together, they're married, they take vows. One of the things you might think about if you're thinking about getting married, your bodies are probably going to change, especially if you're really young. I got married when I was like 20, 21. I don't know how old I was. And my body's changed, and my wife's body has changed. We've had kids, and we've gotten older, and we've gotten hurt, and we've had to repair our bodies. And it's just one of those things you fluctuate. We've gained weight, we've lost weight, we've gained weight again. It is what it is. It's part of life. And you talk with each other, and you let each other know you love each other when you need the support, and you got to be there for the other partner. Even when you don't feel like you're in the game, you got to be there for them. That's just my view on marriage. It's a teamwork thing, and you got to work hard. It's not always going to be easy. Rachel said I have a phone call. I don't care. I will call you back when I am done working. So I was going to cut this out, but my wife said, dude, I've got boobs, and I've got to adjust my bra.
Hey, I was in my element at that time. Like, I was sucking up some leaves. I had to get comfy. All right, back to work. Nope, just kidding. Gotta wipe the sweat out of my goggles.
Oh, yeah, so we're using still goggles now. It's the first year I've been using them. I had a buddy that told me about them, and they work really good, except they fog up a lot. I think what we're going to try is getting some anti-fog wipe for glasses and see if that helps.
Oh, like Rain-X for goggles?
Yeah,
Heck
but,
yeah, I would
they've
love
got
that.
them for glasses.
Oh, I've
You know what I'm
never
talking
heard
about?
of- No, but if it's like Rain-X like on our window, yeah, we need that for our goggles.
Well, I bought a whole box though, because I liked it so much after using it the first time, just because the next day I didn't have dust and grit and everything in my eyes after waking up.
You
and
want a whole box of goggles?
yeah, about $100 worth, and we're gonna do
I
a
did not know
giveaway
that.
on the channel. I'll
Heck
just
yeah.
throw them out because I think they're a big win. Like, even if they fog up, it was worth it because my eyes weren't trashed out.
Yeah, I love
So.
those goggles. And they don't fall off like glasses.
Mhm.
Like, the goggles are wonderful if we can just prevent the fog.
I would have never worn that stuff years ago.
I know, I'm so shocked. Like, when
It's
I saw
not
them
cool
hanging
enough.
up in your truck, I was so shocked to see that you had a pair of them.
Yeah, that's just not cool enough.
No, dude, they're cool.
It was
Be
always
safe.
when Rachel first met me. It was always I had to wear blue jeans and black t-shirts, boots. So that made me cool. Black work boots. Anything else was out. No colors. Even a dark navy blue was very iffy. And a hat, I could never wear it backwards. That's not cool. Squared off glasses like I wear now. That's not cool. What else do I do now that I don't?
Sometimes you wear a mask,
Oh,
which
yeah.
is very surprising.
Well, I don't like doing that just for a comfort thing. Like,
Yeah.
it's.
I mean, a mask while you're doing the
Yeah, well,
lawn care stuff.
I don't mind wearing the neck gaiter mask that you can breathe through a little better, but
Yeah.
like wearing a respirator, one, it doesn't seat with my beard, and even when I didn't have a beard, they still don't seat very well. They're very hot. It's very strenuous to breathe through.
And his job is already a workout, so...
Yeah, my breathing's a lot different since I quit smoking. If you're new to the channel, I actually quit smoking about 2 or 3 years ago.
No, it's actually been 4 years now, Kev.
It hadn't been that long.
It has been that long.
It hasn't been that long. I quit in 2018 or 2019.
That was no, Kev. This was about 4 years ago that you quit.
I quit in 2018 or 2019. 2017, I smoked like crazy. In fact, I had an employee, and at the time, I was going nuts, and I was like, give me more. But since then, I mean, my breathing's better, but it's still not as good as, you know, it was before I started smoking. I've definitely put some damage on my lungs, and I'm sure other people can relate to that. And then I had like this instance, you know, this situation when I was younger. My parents had this friend, right? Big Indian woman. Indian with a feather, not a dot. That's not a racist statement. It's just she was a big Indian woman. We live in
You're using adjectives, that's all.
Okay. Yeah, well, you know, people get offended, so I got to throw it out there. It's not a racist thing. Kevin's actually Indian, although I don't claim it because I've met a lot of Indians that are...
Yeah, clip that.
I'm going to keep going. Anyways. Just in general, just talking like that. Boy, that does sound bad. But no, I'm just saying I've run into these people. One of the situations I had is when I was younger. I was, and I want to say I was probably 11, 12, maybe 13, somewhere in that range, right?
Yeah.
And my parents, I grew up in a party household. My dad was a drummer in a band, and so he was always having band practice and, you know, went through several different bands. So there was always different people. A lot of people drinking and a lot of people on drugs. And, you know, I mean, I was never really exposed to anything other than the drinking. You know, and I wasn't exposed in a bad way. I just, you can't really hide it. The drugs, you know, maybe they go into another room or something like that. I knew the smell of marijuana since I was a little baby, though.
It's like incense.
I'm like, it smells like my uncle's house. This smells like my house when I was a kid. Anyways, I think a lot of people have that memory. So anyways, this one time, right?
At band camp.
Big Indian woman. She's like, you know, well, to me, at the height I was at, I'm a pretty short dude. And the height it was, oh, wait, look at this stump. Ooh. I chewed that up with the mower. Anyways.
Is that what was that nick was? Was from your mower?
Yeah, I hit it with the blade.
A Band-Aid.
No, that's good. So anyways, this woman, her name was Beth. Big woman. Tall. And keep in mind, I'm a short dude, and she's probably like 7 foot. Big woman. 6 something, at least. Tall. Stocky. Man shoulders. Anyways, so she said something, and then she's drunk, man. Just trashed, right? And I'm like, yeah, whatever, Beth, you're drunk. You know, just like, leave me alone. Because that's how it would get, man. Like, I'm in this house. I deal with drunks and druggies and stuff all the time. And, I mean, it wasn't like that every night. It was more normally like, you know, band practice nights. Anyways, so she jumped on me. Tackled me. I fell on my back. Like, it was real fast. Just poof. And I was like, whoa, what? You know, and I was probably maybe 120 pounds at the time. A little tiny kid. I worked out a little bit, but I was a tiny kid. And she just started choking me like crazy. And I've had, I don't want to say I've had panic issues. It hadn't scarred me. But I will say, I'm going to use that as an excuse to not wear a mask.
You're going to say, yeah, it messed you up a little bit. No, nothing over your face feels comfortable.
Yeah, it did. I mean, she wasn't going to get off. She only got off because somebody else came in the room and pulled her off. Oh, so I would have probably died that night. Anyways, that turned into a situation because, like, I just split, and the other person that pulled her off ditched out of the house. And I was in my bedroom. My dad's like, what are you doing in the bedroom? What's wrong? And I'm like, chick choked me, man. And
dude, I bet he was
yeah,
oh
that. Yeah. Oh yeah.
My gosh.
Well, you've seen my dad mad.
Yeah, he's
so.
very protective of his babies.
Yeah, so that's a crazy story about me getting choked. Everybody loves a good choking story.
You're so bad.
Nah, I'm just kidding though. You know, obviously that's a bad situation and a crazy event. All right, so we're all wrapped up. It's looking good. Rachel got the 2 piles vacuumed up while I use the mower out in the yard. You might be like, why didn't you have her use the mower? Well, she didn't know how to really use the mower yet. I'm not saying she couldn't. She's a very smart girl, and she's pretty good at picking stuff up quick, but she doesn't really have the confidence in it yet. Now I will say, so I was going over the leaf piles in the yard, and I couldn't even see this stump anymore. I forgot it was even here. Luckily, I hit a spot that was really soft. I mean, it's spongy. So I don't think I did any damage. It is a little hard, but it's not too bad. It's pretty spongy. So I lucked out. You know, somebody asked me this morning in the comments, they said, have you ever hit a paver or anything? You talk about mowing tall grass on transport mode. And so when I'm saying transport mode, I mean the highest setting that my mower can be on. It's called transport mode. So when you go up into the trailer, you don't high center and hit your spindles as you're entering the trailer. That's transport mode. Some people from there like to lower their deck all the way. I don't really care. I keep it at the height that it's at on transport mode, so that when I back off the trailer, I don't forget and accidentally hit it. So that's just how I do it. Although I know that it puts extra wear and tear and stress and all that stuff, but the machines are built for that stuff, and I don't plan on ever having one machine around too long. I just know I'm gonna beat the hell out of it, and I'm gonna make my money with it, and I'm gonna be gone. Okay, and I'll replace it, and that's how it works. So I mean, I don't intentionally abuse it in a manner that would make it last less than what it is worth. I use it in a manner that is appropriate for the business and protects my body. So occasionally accidents do happen, and worst case scenario, I hit the spindle, and you know, I would have to replace the spindle, or maybe even, you know, it could bend the deck if you hit something really hard. And on these bigger decks, those blades are spinning really fast. There's a lot of torque on those blades, and if you hit something, it can bend the deck from hitting something. And then in which case, you have a couple options: buy a new deck, or you can take it to a shop, they heat up your deck and bend it back until it's right. So sometimes it'll never be right. I don't know. I've never bent a deck. I use up until this year, I always used, you know, push mowers or 36-inch mowers. I did have a 48 at one point in time, but let's go ahead and check the time and see how long this took. Okay, because we showed up, and because the grass was kind of long, we gave it a good cut. So I cut it and dropped the height a little bit, cut it again, mulched it multiple times, and then dispersed it. That's a good example of how to mulch leaves into a lawn. Now I will say, over here there's a lot more leaf debris on the ground, but you can't see it. It hides better in fescue because of the color and the way the grass, you know, spreads out. So if you look down, you can actually see more leaf debris, but there's more space in between the grass, right? It hides better in fescue. I'll get to the time in a second. But over on Bermuda, leaves and stuff like that will sit on top of the Bermuda, and the reason being is if you look it down at Bermuda, it's very, very dense. You know, you got all this space here if you spread it out, but when it's just cut, it's dense, it's fluffy. It's like walking on a carpet. Some people don't like Bermuda. It's considered a weed to some people, but it is a beautiful dense turf. It spreads out as it grows. It's very, very thick. If you don't want a lot of weeds, and you're in a we're in a transition zone. It's kind of a sweet spot in the US, but also kind of a hellhole for growing grass. So what I mean by that is, if you were further south, well, warm season grasses do really well. And if you were further north, cool season grasses do really well. But because we're right in the middle, in the transition, kind of like I said, the hellhole, we get a little bit of both. So we got some cool season there, and we got some warm season there. And because the ground temperatures are at a certain level, the warm season has shut down. But as you can see here, the cool season started growing. It's doing real well right now. So it actually needed cut when this side didn't. So yeah, there's that. Now over here, this is cool season as well. These are our weeds. So there's some chickweed in there, and there's some henbit. Henbit's the one that has the purple flowers on it in the spring. And you know, we'll get some of that growing throughout the fall and winter, but it really takes off in the spring, at least around here. We'll see it between, say, February to March, it'll explode. It'll be the first thing that just explodes. And then by the time you get to the first cut on a lawn like this, hen bit would be a foot high or so, if not more sometimes. It doesn't get too tall. But I'm getting off point. Anyways, what I'm trying to say is that when you mulch on warm season grasses, it tends to sit on top of the grass. So you have to really mulch the hell out of it to hide it away. And over on cool season grasses, you got to mulch it, but it settles in the grass better. Now over here, it'll settle over the next couple days. Any debris that's left, it'll blow around, get off the lawn, or it will settle into the lawn. So it doesn't really matter. At this point, the lawn looks awesome. The only thing we didn't really do is blow off this chain link. I should have got on the other side and blown it out, but it's okay. It looks good. Up here, everything cleaned up real well. We got it out of the culvert and off this side of the house over there. So let's go ahead and check time. Boy, I think that was kind of informational. I like that. That's fun to do. I enjoy talking about work and tips and tricks and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, that's a really good example of mulching. I wish I would have multiple cameras on this one so you could have seen it better, but I think overall you'll get the point. Okay. Let me know in the comments if you did. As soon as I find my clock. Now, keep in mind I was talking to you for, I don't know, about 5 minutes there. So, right now, the clock's running, and we're at an hour. Can we see this? Yeah, we're at an hour and 5 minutes. So we're gonna pause it there. I'm gonna bill for an even hour, 1 even hour. Now I did have a little extra time because the drive here was way out here. I had extra time because we talked to the client. Normally you can bill for that too, depending on the scenario, your confidence, however you want. But I started the clock when we actually started working. So that's how I'm gonna bill. I'm gonna start there. Now, let's go ahead and break it down a little further. It's really easy formula, but for some people, you know, I don't know, it's still kind of complicated. But in the very beginning, I think it's hard to understand. And I've had some homeowners, that's a ripoff. Okay, here's the thing. It's not a ripoff because I'm showing up with mower 1, mower 2, 2 backpack blowers, big loader, truck that I have to dump the material out of. I have to take it to the dump. Sexy wife. A lot of equipment there. lot of equipment there. Okay? And then I have to pay for, you know, she's working with me. Her salary, my salary, taxes, gas, oil, insurance. There's a ton of stuff to pay for. If you have a payroll company, you got to pay for payroll. All that's broke down into your man-hour rate. And what you'll do is you're going to take all of your expenses, okay, and you're going to average it out over an hourly rate, and you're going to find your break-even point, how much you have to make, and then you're going to find out what you want to charge per hour. So your break-even point plus your profit, what you need to make a profit. Break-even's like you're breaking even. Don't go below that or you're in the hole. Then you want to add your profit in, and then you got to factor in your market value, and then factors like you know, before a holiday, you ramp up, you speed up, and then it's kind of like expediting somebody to the front. If they want to be at the front of the list, they're going to have to pay for that. You know what I mean? It's one of those luxuries. If you want me now, I'll be there now. I'll put you ahead of everybody else, but you're going to pay for it, okay? And that's just the cost of good customer service. If you want good customer service, I'm going to be right there. So anyways, you got the hourly basis. It's built in that way. Everything's added up, divided together, all that stuff. Okay, you get the point. So what we got is we got 1 hour physically on the property. Our crew is on the property for 1 hour, but we have 2 people here, a crew of 2 people. So we're gonna multiply that by 2, and we get a total of 2 man hours. Okay. And then what you bill is up to you. Now, because of the distance and everything out here, and I bill off man hour rate, I'm gonna bill this at $200 to get it cleaned up, and it looks sweet. And then what Rachel's gonna do is when we get in the truck, what are you gonna do, Rachel?
I'm gonna create the invoice, bill it, charge it, send the receipt.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Let's break this down a little further. You're gonna do what? You're gonna create the invoice, and then you're gonna do what?
I'm gonna run the card.
And then she's gonna run the card.
And then I'm gonna send the payment, invoice, receipt to the customer by email.
Okay. So, how's this different than how we used to do it? Let's break it down. I would. This is years ago. I would write a physical invoice from a carbon copy
some kind
book.
of a note that
Yeah,
you would
grab that sales book up there. It's similar to this. So I would have a book, okay, similar to this, but not like this. It was an invoice book. This is a sales order book, but I would have an invoice book like this. I don't even use this. I don't know what's in here. So anyways, I would have an invoice book like this. I would write the customer's name, their address, all this stuff in here. I would write what the service was and how much it was for, date it, and then I'd keep the white copy and I'd rip off the yellow copy and I'd put the yellow copy in their mailbox. You put something in their mailbox? Yes, I put something in their mailbox. I did that for years, okay? But now what we do is a little bit different. Here's the thing with doing it that way. I'm giving them the luxury of allowing them to decide when to pay me or even if to pay me, okay? So now what we do is a little bit different. We do it all online through, we use Yardbook. It's a free software that you can get on your phone, and I don't have any affiliation with them, but other than using them, but you can get it for free. We use the paid version because we like the perks of being able to mass message our clients. So what we do is immediately we invoice the client, and now when I'm mowing, there's a lot of them throughout the day, and it's go. So I invoice at the end of the night, okay? That's the difference between mowing and leaf season. Leaf season, you're looking at like 3 to 5 properties max a day because it's more time consuming. So what we do is we take a few minutes afterwards, we create an invoice, immediately charge the card on file. So part of when we're bringing the client on board, our onboarding system, is we actually get their information, okay? Bring their information on. We want their name, their address, their phone number, the email, and then we say, awesome. Now we're going to send you a card on file link. That's kind of a last confirmation that you would like to go ahead and use our service. As soon as you fill out your card on file and send it back to us, you know, it's all done through a third-party secured company, through Yardbook, which actually uses Stripe to do it, a pretty large company. Okay? It gives the customer security. You want to give the customer security. You want to make them feel confident, and the way you make them feel confident enough to give you that card on file, because that's probably your, I don't know if I could do that. That's probably your hang up, right? I don't know. We did that for a long time. I don't know. I don't think our customers would do that. And
totally opposite.
using a card's easy, okay? So you walk them through this process, and that process gives them the confidence to put their card on file, okay? You agree? Okay, we both agree. All right, so once they have their card on file, they send it over. Then we get them on the schedule. So we let them know, hey, to get on our schedule, you got to send your card on file. I don't show up and perform any work without a card on file unless they have been a client for a very, very long time, which we have a few of them that still pay by check, but it's very, very few.
Very few, like maybe 2 or 3.
Yeah, and there's only a couple of, there's only like one that pays with check that's actually good about it. The others, we have to wait, but we know because of the aging of having them as a client for a long time, we're going to get paid, but there's still always a possibility of getting screwed. Okay? Now, there's been a couple times this year, I think once or twice, that I didn't follow my system, and it slapped me in the face.
You got screwed.
And I got screwed. My point there is follow your systems. If you don't follow your systems, it's going to bite you. So, you know, there's a reason why you do that, and the process why you do it. You make your business easy and simplistic, and you know, it doesn't have to be complicated. When I used to hear systems, I thought it was a complicated thing. Don't make your business complicated. Dumb it down. Dumb it down. Stop trying to be everything for everybody. Dumb your business down so that you can offer a good service and get paid well. Rachel, you ready to head out of here?
I am. I'm ready to go get some water. We don't have any in our truck. Let's talk about leaves, baby. Let's talk about your leaves.